So, hello everybody. I have just finished the first scenario of Tonkin, and I just wanted to give you a little overview. Some people said, well, why didn't I do a video playthrough? The reason is that those playthroughs take quite a lot of time when I tape them, so it means that it takes away a little bit of the enjoyment for myself, because I always have to position the camera, you know, I have to talk about what I'm doing. So while it's fun to make them, if you really want to play the game through and really get the experience, I find it a little bit distracting sometimes to have to think about, oh, and there's a camera and I need to, you know, explain what I'm doing. I'm getting a tall tripod this week. I've only got a small one at the moment, so this one's going to be, when it's extended, it's 150, which is almost as tall as me when I'm standing up. And I'll see how that goes. So I might be able to actually film over my shoulder so that it's easier for me to show the whole playing field, the whole map, and I don't have to, you know, move the camera around so much. So basically I finished the first scenario, and I have to say it was awesome. It lasts only 3 turns, so that's a very short scenario, but it shows you the full beauty, and I would really like to call it that, the full beauty of the rules and of the mechanics of the game. Now, it's a very, very operational game. So I've played, obviously in the beginning I only played tactical war games, so GBOH is a tactical war game scenario or wargame mechanic, and I played Panzergruppe Guderian, which I think I was told by somebody on, I think The Geek or somewhere, that this was one of the most of the earliest operational games. I will not dispute this, it probably was, but when I compare it to Tonkin, it's much less operational and much more tactical. So if I was to say, okay, you have operational games on one end of the scale, and you have tactical games, let's say, at the level of even lock and load, which is even at very, you know, like, I don't know, platoon level even, you know, a very, very small unit. I would say that Panzergruppe Guderian is less operational, definitely, than Tonkin. And when you play the first scenario, it's almost like you're standing still. There isn't much movement. It's a lot of trench warfare, which makes perfect sense, because this is what the situation was like. You're trying to prevent people from gaining ground, and you do this by staking out a perimeter, entrenching yourself there, and hoping that when people when the units of the enemy come towards you, you will win against them, and you can stop them from moving. I didn't have any issues with supply. I thought this was going to be difficult to stay in supply, but it wasn't, because everybody was entrenched, or almost everybody was entrenched, and there were enough direct lines to supply centers, because all of the French were in the Delta, and they have quite a lot of supply centers there. And the Viet Minh didn't have any. There was I think 2 instances when the Viet Minh were out of supply, but that was, well, it wasn't by design, but it had to be the case. Otherwise, I would have had to give up positions that I had really been coveting. In the end, the result was probably a draw. But looking back, I may have miscalculated the victory points. So I'm paying special attention to the victory points this time. I'm now playing the second scenario, which is actually the fight for Hanoi. The first one was Cao Bang. So the fight for Hanoi is really where the Viet Minh launch an all-out attack on the entrenched French troops in the Delta. So I don't know if there will be much more movement in this one, but there will definitely be much more troop movement for new reinforcements, because the reinforcement table is actually huge. The only thing that you have to bear in mind is when you bring in reinforcements, what happens is that as the French player, you're actually deducting victory points, and the lower the victory point number, the better it is for the Viet Minh. So if you bring in reinforcements, you're actually helping the Viet Minh gain ground from a victory point perspective. If I get the tripod this week, I will do a film review. Well, not a film review, but a playthrough of the Hanoi scenario. We'll see how that goes. Like I said, if I can place it behind me and film over my shoulder, then it should be doable. Other than that, I can really recommend this game. I've now played 2 scenarios, and I have to say that once you really play not the training scenario but a real scenario where all of the different mechanics come into play, you can see the beauty of the mechanics and the game flows. So in the beginning, if you watch the videos that I've done previously, it seems, and I said it, like the mechanics are a little bit clunky. That's because I was learning. That's because I was still reading in the rule book and trying to find my way around the story and the rules. But this is now much better, because the rules, once you've understood them, are really simple to follow. You have a couple of charts. It's always the same charts. It's all very logical. The only thing that I will say is I don't know who printed the map, but if you try to find stuff on the grid, it doesn't have hex numbers. So basically it's a grid, which would work if the grid numbers were in any way related to what it says on the card. So for example, you're looking for a place that is supposed to be in BB12. If you look at the hex that is in BB12, you can find anything and everything, but you won't find what you're actually looking for. So I don't know if the cards that I have don't correspond to the map, or if the map is a misprint, or what the story is, but finding stuff on that map is really difficult. It's a beautiful map, but again, like Byte, I would prefer hex numbers. You know, guys, this is something that's time-honored and it's been around for a very long time. And Panzergruppe Guderian from the 70s has it, Citadel has it. Hex numbers are the way to go. Everything else is just you know, too much wasting of time trying to find stuff. So that's the only criticism that I have of this game. The hexes are really big, which I like, so they're easy to read. The counters are of a great quality. I don't know what size they are. I think they're a little bit bigger than the counters for, let's say, GBOH, but with the beautiful map, it looks great. It really looks great. So that's all from me. If you want a recommendation, if you should buy this game, if you like operations games, and if you're not put off by the fact that you might end up in trench warfare where very little is moving, you know, and sometimes in an operations phase you may not be able to do much. So for example, you've got 10 operations points. There was one phase where the Viet Minh could only use 7, because then that was basically all I could do. There was nothing else I could have done except destroy a couple of roads, just if you want to use your points, but it wouldn't have made any difference one way or the other, so I just didn't use them. So you have to be able to accept this, that sometimes it's going to be very difficult to do anything sensible, which is why I don't know how this would play as a 2-player game, because if you end up in this situation, you might feel like, oh, I'm not doing anything, whereas my enemy, the French are, for example, barraging me with airstrikes, whatever, they're moving troops using air transport, whereas the Viet Minh in the first scenario don't even have trucks, so they have to kind of like walk everywhere. I don't know how this would play as a 2-player game. As a 1-player game, it's really great, because you really have so much to think about, and you really have so much room for planning a strategy. And I'm really happy with this game, and hopefully at some point somebody will come up with some maybe customized or fan-made scenarios, because there are only 6 scenarios in the box. So, or maybe Kim will make some additional scenarios. I don't know, but I really love it, and I can only recommend it. Okay, that's all. Bye.